Fans of gardening, Walter Bowne here. I thought I'd take a break from the literature and the history and come out to the garden. And of course, the sun's coming out with the rain we've had. The drama queen of the garden, the lilac, and its close drama queen friend, the rose, almost in full bloom now. Lilac, and it always makes me think of Abraham Lincoln and Walt Whitman's When Lilacs Last in Your Yard Bloom. The aromas, the fragrance is just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. With the lilacs though, you got to make sure it has room to breathe. Some of these things I have to cut down, some of the old stalks. But let me take you on a little tour. I know many of you during this whole COVID quarantine thing are thinking about gardening. And I had a person the other day asking me, should she put tomatoes in the garden? I'm like, tomatoes in the garden? No, the ground needs to be about 70 degrees. It needs to be warm. Mother's Day maybe for tomatoes. You can start them indoors. You can start them in greenhouses. But you won't start putting tomatoes. They won't do anything until it gets warm. Right? Alright, so let me take you, do a little greenhouse tour, talk about composting, and about using rain barrels to collect your water. Got a lot of water yesterday with the rain that came in. So hopefully you can get something out of this video. So here I have mostly my raised perennial beds. Last year I raised it up again. I think 3 letters is enough. Wisteria here, not wisteria, I'm sorry. Clematis, I have the clematis growing here, 3 different kinds. This will be in full bloom in about, I'm actually seeing a couple buds coming up here, right here, the bud right there. Beautiful flower. And so what you want to do with the soil is, of course, I use a combination of stuff. I do worm composting, and I do outside composting with worms too. Leaf compost. Sometimes your township has free leaf compost. This year I got it delivered because I couldn't go get my free leaf compost. The stuff that was delivered that was really good. I also use, depending on the plants, a mushroom compost. That can be very, very good, although tomatoes don't like it, and the rhododendron and your alkaline plants don't like it so much. So watch out putting the mushroom compost on. The things that are really rich soil, I would avoid putting any type of wood mulch, especially around your plants. If it's for landscaping, it's out front. But the stuff just sucks up all the nutrients, and there's lots of problems. And if you don't believe me, just research that kind of stuff. And what I've done, most of this has about a good 1/4 inch of leaf compost. You don't want to put too much leaf compost on there. You don't want to suffocate your plants, and because this will keep breaking down, this won't keep weeds from growing, but it does keep it for the most part. And I have a lot of stuff in reserve. You can just add to it. The great thing too about perennials is this plant right here. Right, this is echinacea. This plant has come from like 7 or 8 different plants. So you divide it, like this one right here. This is a black-eyed Susan. This black-eyed Susan came from over there, and that whole clump of black-eyed Susans on that side, you can't see it, has divided. So it's like a family that just keeps growing. And this, you didn't even see this 2 months ago. It was like in the ground, dormant. And then suddenly you start seeing things pop up all over the place, right? The peonies there, that was one little peony over there in the corner. And now it's gonna just be full of blooms. The ants love it too, so I usually don't bring them inside because the ants can kind of like, you don't know there's like 200 ants on a flower. But you have to support it because the blooms are so heavy. But beautiful, beautiful plant. Got autumn joy here. Here, of course, the birds love feeding out of this. I have some water hyacinths that I had last year. You never have just one water hyacinth. After 2 months, it was like coated, so I think I have one there now. But mostly it's water lilies. So this is a water hyacinth. I'm not sure it's going to do anything. but the water lilies are really, really pretty. And okay, let me take you on more of a tour. Hi everyone. So in talking about a perennial garden, there's a lot of investment in a perennial garden because number one, they tend to be a little bit more pricey, but the idea is that you just get so more. So once you place something somewhere, it doesn't mean it has to stay there. You can move it, but you have to be careful when you move it. And you also have to think about all different types of things in doing a perennial garden. You have to think height. So I've had things like, for instance, this yarrow right here. Let me take out that weed. Little creeping ivy there, it's awful. I had it in the back there, and it was beautiful. Of course, the butterflies love it, and bees love it, but I couldn't see it because it was in back of the echinacea. So I moved it up here, much better up here. Taller flowers, of course, in the back. And of course, you have to think about when things are going to be blooming. So a good perennial garden has flowers throughout the year. So you have early bloomers, you have late bloomers. So my peonies over there will be blooming in like a couple weeks. The clematis or clematis, however you pronounce it, I think it's both ways, but anyway, I might have a bloom on that in another day or two. Of course, the lilacs are blooming now. Daffodils are still out. Some of the daffodils varieties are out. The yellow ones are done. But the nice thing is, they're depending on the plant and depending on the nursery. Like this one right here was a plant I got for free, right? And it was a plant swap. And one plant has now created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plants, and 3 of these were over there. They just reseeded, and I didn't want them over there, so I dug them up in the late winter, and I just saw them coming up, and I didn't want them there, and I repositioned them here to be about a middle height, and then of course the echinacea grows much taller. Then I have daisies over there, and then this low plants here. This here is a columbine. This is a columbine. That's a columbine. These columbines, these will be out. I'll probably see these blooming in another day or so. This all came from one plant, and I pretty much have like 30 plants from this one plant I got. And I've given this away at plant swaps, where so like you go to like an Earth Day thing. Of course, we don't have it this year, but you have a plant, you swap it with another plant. It's a great way to get plants. And if you look at it under normal circumstances, not this year, but you can go to a plant swap. The lamb's ear right here, I'm not sure if you can see it in the video, but again, from one plant. Again, I had 2 that seeded other places, and I didn't want them there. I wanted it all together. And the nice thing is too, is that if I have a spot in another part of the garden, I can take a look at what I have and say, okay, I'm going to see if that works here. And then, of course, you have to think about not just the soil conditions, whether it likes acidic soil or alkaline soil or somewhere in the middle. And most plants can tolerate most decent soils. But you have to think about sun exposure, shade, all those things, whether it's south-facing, north-facing, how much sun does it get. And most plants, most perennials love a lot of sun. But on the other side of the house, over there, I have my shade garden, which plants that do well in the morning sun, but do not want to take the afternoon sun at all. Then of course I have some indigo coming up there, some false indigo. Very, very beautiful flowers, blue flowers that come up on stalks. They go high. So I have them in the back. So you get kind of like an effect. And again, if you're starting out with gardening, start small, right? I started off big at my old house. I just overdid it, just totally overdid it. Overwhelmed, and then just get frustrated. But it's a process, like with anything. Trial and error. Plants You know, the good thing is if you kill a plant, it's not like a child. You just say, okay, I learned. Let me go back to the drawing board, and just be patient.